Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our fourth webinar from the WEkEO DS. And today we will be talking about ocean color data using Copernicus Sentinel data for marine monitoring, yeah. So let me introduce you to the agenda and to the speakers. So today we have with us Fabrice Messel, who is a marine expert at the at Mercator Océan International. He's been developing partnerships and projects in the frame of Mercator Océan outreach activities for the past 6 years, and he's currently in charge of training activities for the Copernicus Marine Environment Monitoring Service. Fabrice has a background in science and applications and numerical imagery, and has professional experience in visualization software development and scientific mediation. Secondly, we also have Amin El Amrani from the Wikio user support. He is a satellite imagery expert and a user support expert specialized in technical issues, and he will give you a short introduction to the infrastructure later on. He will also be one of your main contact points if you have any issues or any support questions. And then we have with us today also Haley Evers-King from EUMETSAT. She works there as a marine applications expert, where she supports marine user engagement and training, with a particular focus on the Copernicus Sentinel 3 and Sentinel 6 missions. Haley has a PhD in the field of ocean optics and is an expert on many marine Earth observation applications. So she will be introducing you to the world of ocean color today. What's on our agenda? If the slide one's, yeah, okay. So we will start today just very general, introducing you to the WEkEO DS or refreshing your mind. We will go over what kind of data you can find on the WEkEO DS, the IT infrastructure and the pricing, so that you have all of those basics down. And then Haley will go deeper into the topic of ocean color using Copernicus Sentinel data and give you a demonstration. At the end of the session, we will have a Q&A. But just to do some housekeeping and to let you know how that will work, if during the presentations and the demonstrations you already have a question, please put it in the chat. You have the possibility to click the question mark, which will highlight it as a question to the audience or to the presenters. At the end of the session, we will highlight, depending on the number of questions, some of these questions on the screen, and we will answer them live. Of course, if any of the questions can't get answered live, or it's too big to answer it in the chat, we are of course available at our user support desk from the WEkEO DS. If the slide doesn't load, then you will for sure see it as well later on in the other presentations. So I will hand over the floor to Fabrice to give you an introduction to the WEkEO website and the WEkEO DS.
Thank you, Anne-Catherine. Good morning, everybody. So I will share my screen for this presentation. Okay, good. So good morning, everyone. So my name is Fabrice Messel. I work at Mercator Océan as a training officer, and I will introduce you the WEkEO DS service and a short introduction on the website directly. So let's start with this presentation. So what is a DIAS? DIAS is an acronym for Data and Information Access Service. The development of the DIAS platforms was an initiative from the EU Commission to democratize and standardize access to the Copernicus data. WEkEO has been designed by EUMETSAT, the European Operational Satellite Agency, ECMWF, the European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecast, Mercator Ocean International, and the European Environment Agency, and implemented by an industry consortium. These entities are already involved in the Copernicus program and decided to bring together all their experience, their skills, and infrastructure to build up WEkEO. So WEkEO benefits a wide range of users, including institutional bodies, private sector, scientists, and civil society, to enable them to develop their own value-added products or applications or services. So on WEkEO, you will find all in one place, the data and the resources to extend your data processing capability and build your own service without the need to download the data or to install software or to manage your own server. And you can count on the user support experts to make it as simple as possible. So what can you get from WEkEO? The range of available information is wide, and it includes Copernicus program data from its services, data from marine, land, climate, and atmosphere domain. It includes in situ and model outputs, covering the past, the present, and the future of our Earth environment. Satellite data is available, such as Sentinel missions, as well as Copernicus contributing missions. Infrastructure, platform, and software as a service are available, including Jupyter Lab, ready-to-use virtual machines for data access, and standard tools for free trials and free trials available to test your applications. APIs are available to help you accessing the data. If you need help, you benefit of an efficient user support. And in the near future, you will be able to showcase your work and promote it through a marketplace. So if you want to access the data, you have two plans. The Essential plan, which is a free plan. The Essential plan gives you access to all the catalog, the full catalog, the Jupyter Lab, and the support. And the Advanced plan, which is a pay plan starting at 66 euro per month, give you access to the content of the Essential plan, plus access to virtual machines, processing tools, and coming soon, the possibility to do free networking. But Amin will give you more details on the different plans. To finish, and the most important thing to remind, the three main assets from WEkEO are: first, data is not a copy. Thanks to its infrastructure, WEkEO provides direct, up-to-date access to the entire Copernicus and as well as Sentinel portfolios. Secondly, the harmonized data access. It's a REST-based single protocol which connects you to data without extra steps, such as downloading unnecessary data or adapting your codes. You have just to request the data, subsetting the data you need through command lines in your own processing environment. And thirdly, the expert support. The user support is delivered by the institutions with a range of expertise in Earth observation, and also by the industrial contractors involved in the implementation of the cloud platform. So this is the end of my presentation. I will show you now the website. And to do this, I need to switch off my camera to have the maximum of internet connection. So, up. Okay. So now you should see my the website. So this is the home page of the website. So this is the single access point to WEkEO and the portfolio. So on the home page, you have the big button to access to the main part of of the website. So you can have a look on the data directly in the catalog. Okay, so this is through this visualization tool, you can add a layer, and when you add a layer, you have access to the catalog of data. You have access to guides and documentation with a lot of information on how to use the virtual machine, how to access the different functionalities of Wikio. The link to the user support if you want to ask a question. So this is a place to send your question. Information about the different plans. So the essential plan and the advanced plan with a description of the different environments. And the registration part form with this page. So as you can see, it's very simple. You have just to give some details about you, your organization, and which plan you want to subscribe. It's here, and your account is automatically created. And once you are registered, you can sign in, like I do now. Okay, with my username and password. And now I can go to my dashboard. So this dashboard is your place to have all your information and the link to your virtual machines, your part of Jupyter Hub, Wikio Drive, etc. And if I go back on the data, so let's have a look to the data quickly. Okay. I would like today to bring you to a sunny place. So let's have a look to this Sentinel-2 data in first color, and let's have a look to this place in Egypt. So I will choose date to see this data. I think we have data here. This place, it's very a beautiful place near the pyramids of Giza, and you see the data are coming. Okay, and you can see this circle form. This is recognizable from space, and this is this circles come from a central pivot irrigation system we can find in this part of this country. Okay, and when I'm here, I can define my area of interest like this, and I can subset the data. I can enter automatically the coordinates of my area of interest like this. Now I can select the data I want, the processing level, the harmonized data access request is here. I have just to copy paste on my Jupyter notebook on other codes. And if I want to download the data directly, I can request the data. Okay, job complete. And now, this is not this one, this is this one, okay. And now I have the data here. I can pass the order and download the data directly by clicking here. So as you see, it's very simple, and you have access to a large amount of data. I'm finished.
Thank you very much, Fabrice, for the explanation, the introduction to the Wikio Dias, and for taking us on a small, a nice travel experience in these times. A bit of sunshine. I will continue showing you what's in the data catalog. Through the website, you can access all of these data. You can access all of the infrastructure. But what is it that you can find specifically? Perhaps one of the things that is important to know, and that is really supporting the whole concept of bringing the data and the infrastructure together to allow you to develop applications using data that is available really rapidly, is that the Wikio DS doesn't copy data from the origin to their own servers. No, they fetch it directly from the existing original data hubs. So, for instance, that's taking it directly from ESA, from EUMETSAT, from any of the Copernicus services, so that you have the most up-to-date data products and services. So which data are we talking about? If you're a little bit familiar with the Copernicus program, it's a very broad program, and it's subdivided into services and then the Copernicus Sentinels, which are the satellites. Within the services that are available on the Wikio DS, we have the Copernicus Marine Environment Monitoring Service, which are managed by Mercator Océan. Then we have the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service and the Copernicus Climate Change Service, which are managed by ECMWF. The Copernicus Land Monitoring Service, which is managed by the European Environment Agency and by the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. And then that's the service component. And then we have the satellites, the satellite component, which is managed partially by EUMETSAT and partially by the European Space Agency. EUMETSAT is taking care of all of the marine data, so that's the Sentinel-3 marine data, and then soon also Sentinel-6 data that was launched in November, and they're in the commissioning phase, and then Sentinel-4 data in the future once the satellite has been launched. ESA, on the other hand, takes care of the land side. So they distribute all of the Sentinel-1 and 2 data and the land data from the Sentinel-3 satellites, as well as the Sentinel-5P atmospheric composition satellite data. So I will go through and give you a brief overview of each of those separate components and what exactly the kind of information or data you can find from those actors. So the Copernicus Marine Environment Monitoring Service, long name, will give you derived information, so not just the raw satellite images or any raw observation data, but really value-added information about the blue ocean, so any physical or chemical parameters, temperature, salinity, waves, currents, sea level. The green ocean, which looks more at biological parameters in oceans, in seas, and then the white ocean, sea ice in the Arctic Ocean. The data or the products from the Copernicus Marine Environment Monitoring Service is available at a global level, with some more higher resolution data for European basins. It also, and that is really interesting to know, it's really a time series that's on offer. So you have data from the past, present data, so current observations, and then forecasts for the future. In total, that leads to over 130 data sets from 3 different sources. So from satellite data, from in situ data, and modeling data, which use those satellite and in situ data also as input. For depending on which region or which basin you're looking at, you will find some differences. Of course, any sea ice products you will find in the Arctic, not in the Mediterranean Sea. but ocean color, which is also the topic of today, you can find for each of those basins. And then for any forecasts, any analysis that also use model data that use more information, that's also available for most of these for all of these regions. I will quickly also give you an overview. So I'll talk about all of the services, even if they might not be of relevance for you today. But it's always good to know, because all of these things are interconnected and influence each other. You have the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service, for example. They provide information about air quality analyses, models, but also climate forcings and any solar radiation, for example. They've also started distributing any emissions products, so from fires, from natural sources, and anthropogenic emissions. And the Copernicus Climate Change Service provides essential climate variables, so things that could also be of importance or that influence the marine environment at a global and a regional scale, and any climate projections for the future, which could be of interest to you if you're looking at, for example, sea level rise. The Copernicus Land Monitoring Service consists of 3 components. So again, there are data at a global and a regional scale, but they've subdivided it even into more detail. The global component looks at the evolution of the land surface at a global scale, and has a fairly mid to low spatial resolution, but you do have long time series there and regularly updated information. Then at a more regional level, you have the pan-European component, which provides land cover or land use information across Europe, harmonized across Europe, but also more local information, such as really localized land cover, land use within river basins, within riparian zones, and within coastal zones, is also one of the new products that is made available in the Copernicus Land Monitoring Service. And any imagery or reference data, such as a digital elevation model, European high-resolution satellite mosaics, is something that you can find. So to really dig deeper into it, or what is could be of importance to you, as I mentioned, land cover, land use mapping is one of the main products in the Copernicus Land Monitoring Service. Within either across large regions or within very specific areas, urban areas, riparian zones, coastal zones, any biophysical parameters, including snow cover extent, lake ice extent, which is included here in land, not in marine. Land surface temperature is so there are plenty of products that you can work with that are updated at a less regular schedule. Then today the topic will be about ocean color. So Haley will be talking about the data from EUMETSAT, the Sentinel-3 marine data in particular. And so once you want to get working with these data as well for yourself, one of the things to know is if you're developing a service that, for example, requires new observations quite quickly, or you require long time series, you have to pay attention to what kind of data that you need. So any time series that are, or if you're looking at a longer scale, those are non-time critical images. They are available within 1 month after sensing, usually a lot faster than that. And they are directly accessible for the past year. So it's a rolling archive as the amount of data is becoming quite big. So if you want to access data that is older than 1 year, they're still available, but you have to request them, and it'll take a little bit longer for them to reach you. Any more near real-time data, so that are available within 3 hours after the picture has been taken, are only available for a month, because those are then really for continuous updates of information. Of importance, so for Sentinel-3 data, the information that they can deliver is altimetry, so looking at any changes in sea level, ocean color, which we'll talk about today, so any measurements of radiance, chlorophyll, total suspended matter, color dissolved matter is something that you can derive from these images. And sea surface temperature is also one of the products that can be derived from the Sentinel-3 imagery. And then finally, the data that are available from the European Space Agency. You have Sentinel-1, the full archive available online, SAR C-band often used for maritime monitoring, for example. Sentinel-2 data, which is a high-resolution optical satellite, which can be used for a more detailed coastal ocean color observation, for example. So for Sentinel-3, the data that are available are related to the land areas, and then Sentinel-5P is an air quality composition monitoring satellite. As Fabrice has already shown you a little bit how to access the data, this is just a brief recap. So within the viewer, you can see the whole catalog from which you can do some queries about which kind of data that you want, what is the time frame, what is the location, and from there you can work directly with the data, or also visualize it in the viewer, so you can have a grasp of which data are of interest to you. And I will now leave the floor to Amin to talk about the infrastructure behind it. So once you have selected your data, where do you work with it? Hello, Amin.
Catherine. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I will share my screen. So I am going to do a brief presentation of the IT infrastructure, which consists of two main services, the Jupyter environment and the virtual machine. Let's start with the Jupyter notebook environment. So all you need to do to have access to this Jupyter notebook environment is to register to WEkEO. Once you have registered, you have to access it by signing in. You click sign in, which is already done here, and then you click on a dashboard, then Jupyter Hub here. So what is the Jupyter environment? Jupyter Notebook is an open source web app that you can use to create and share documents that contain live code, equations, visualizations, and text. This is the welcome page of the Wikio Jupyter environment. And you have access to a classic Python interpreter, a terminal prompt that allows you to browse through your Jupyter environment. So the Jupyter environment is basically a small virtual machine environment. You can create a document from scratch by clicking here, or you can play an existing file, which you will most certainly do in the webinars and trainings that you will see. So it comes out as a very useful teaching tool, as code is associated to text and images. I will show you a typical Jupyter notebook which will be the Wikio harmonized data access notebook file, and so this is one of the many Jupyter notebook files that you will find in your Jupyter environment, WEkEO. And as you can see, it contains images. It can also contain text, augmented text, and also these code cells that can be played, and the outcomes and results of the code running are actually displayed in the document itself. Graphs, for example, if you are drawing a graph out of your Wikio data and scripting the code that will treat your data, the graph can be shown on the Wikio Jupyter notebook here. So this, as I said, this is one of the many introductory documents that contain this educational instruction. And mingling with this document, and this one in particular, will make you very comfortable with the Jupyter environment in a matter of hours. Note that these documents can be exported to PDF or to pure Python code if you want to use it elsewhere. So all what is not Python will be commented out, and you will be left with the Python code if you want to use it elsewhere. And when I say elsewhere, this brings us to the virtual machine. So some of you would ask, why would we need a virtual machine environment? After all, isn't the Jupyter environment enough? Because as I said, it is some kind of a small virtual machine. But the Jupyter notebook environment has limits. It's not meant for long and heavy processing. The storage capacity is limited. CPU and memory are also limited. So if you want to perform some heavy processing, consider switching to one of our virtual machines, because Wikio has a virtual machine resources offer. And to request a virtual machine, you should go on the dashboard. So here I will sign in once again. And once you click on the dashboard, you can go at the bottom of this first page and click Upgrade Plan. When you click the Upgrade Plan, you can choose the configuration that corresponds to your needs. So you have many configurations that are available: development, extra small, small, medium, and large. That's what we call t-shirt sizes. And you will have a table at the end of the page with the configuration that corresponds to each plan. But if you want to have more details on that, you click on the pricing section, and at the end you will have a more detailed table that contains the configuration of each plan. You have also trial periods that are indicated here. They are only indicators, and they can be negotiated on a case-by-case basis. So that's all for the virtual machine t-shirt sizes that are available. But you should know that if none of these plans are suitable for you, you can ask for what we call a custom plan, and you should contact us on the support@wikio.eu, and we will put you in contact with the commercial department of Wikio, so you can have the virtual machine that corresponds to your needs, if none of these correspond. So once the resources made available for you, we advise you to follow the guides to create instances of the virtual machine. So if I go back to the dashboard, as I left it, I said the advanced plan, you choose the plan size, you fill in the other form here, and at the end you click the submit request. Once you click the submit request, you will receive as the support to receive an email, and we will treat your case. So once you have created your, once we have given you the access to the virtual machine, you can go on this virtual machine button here to access the Morpheus interface, and that will mainly help you to organize your resources, your virtual machine resources by following the guides. So once done, you will be able to download and process your data, actually as if you were on your personal computer, by accessing a terminal prompt on your virtual machine, but this time with the tremendous computing capacity and high-speed access to Wikio data. If you have any questions, I will refer you to the webinar number 3, where there is a demo on how to download the Wikio data on your Jupyter Hub and on your virtual machine. So that's all from me. I pass it over to Anne-Catherine.
Thank you, Amin, for the demonstration and for introducing us to the Jupyter Notebook and virtual machines. And then now, once you know all of the details about where to find data, which data to find, and where you can process them, it's time to for Haley to show you then exactly how you use that to monitor ocean color. Haley? Haley is in the presenters. There we are.
Hi, Anne-Catherine, sorry. Okay, so thank you very much, and thanks to all the previous presenters for setting me up very nicely to talk to you a bit more about our specific topic today, which is one of the data streams that is available through WEkEO and indeed through Copernicus as a program in general. This is a topic that's particularly close to my heart. It's where I first started working with satellite data and where I've done most of my research. So I'm really excited to share with you some information today about ocean color. So first, let's start with what is ocean color. And it's pretty much what it says in the description, or on the tin, if you like. It is the color of the sea. And I think all of us know a little bit about what ocean color can tell us just by looking at it. You know, we look at water in the oceans, it's blue. Blue we associate with water. And it's a very simple level. You know, we can interpret color just visually by looking at it. In some of the pictures you see in the slides here, you can see other colors that are present in the water. You can see green, and you might associate that more with plant life as we do on land. Similarly, you can see there's a picture in the bottom corner there where water is more colored brown, and we might associate that with mud, sediments that have been put into the ocean either from rivers or resuspended from the bottom of the ocean itself. Some of the colors you see in these pictures you might be less familiar with. The red might be particularly shocking, but as you'll learn, this is something that we can use for a variety of different applications that are really important for us if we're interested in different applications in the marine and ocean domains. So ocean color fundamentally can tell us about what is in ocean waters, the water itself, but also the plant type life that exists. These creatures called phytoplankton, they're photosynthetic like our plants on land. They're the base of the oceanic food chain in most cases. And they have a very important role, particularly in the carbon cycle as well. So if you're interested in climate change, then phytoplankton might be a particular indicator of interest to you from ocean color perspectives. We can also get some quantification of sediments, ice, and other things from ocean color data, including various different types of pollution. We can detect infrastructure, and we can also look at different types of debris that exist in the ocean environment. So yeah, ocean color is basically a window into all the different things that can be in the oceans themselves. From a sort of scientific or technical point, what do we mean when we say ocean color data or ocean color remote sensing? Ocean color remote sensing is what we call a passive technology. So this means that what we're doing is we have a satellite with an instrument on it, and it's observing a signal that's emitted from the Earth itself. We don't send any pulses from the satellite or anything like that. In fact, in this case, what we're looking at is the spectrum of light that's reflected by the ocean, and this is the light that comes in from our sun. So ocean color is also something you can only do during the day. You can't do it at night because we're mostly relying on a large part of the visible spectrum. So this is the part of the light that we see. So light comes in from the sun across the electromagnetic spectrum, hits the water surface, enters the water, and then it goes through various different processes of absorbing and scattering that are very dependent on what is in the water. So dependent on, for example, the depth of the water, the concentration of plankton that are there, whether there are other things like sediments in the water. This will all affect how the light is absorbed and scattered once it enters the ocean waters. And how it's absorbed and scattered ultimately affects what is reflected back from the ocean. So this is what we see. So if you see water that's more green, it means it's been absorbed and scattered in a way that reflects more green light. But using a satellite, we can get much, much more detail from this color signal than we can perceive with our own eyes. And satellites like Sentinel-3 that have ocean color sensors on board pick up color at the fine scale through the electromagnetic spectrum, as you can see in that central plot there, which shows different types of reflectance or radiance in this case that can be measured by the sensor. So we can take that color information and then use it to figure out what is in the water, because all that information is tied up in that signal that we're getting from the ocean color. So what ocean color data is available in the Copernicus program? You can get data from the satellites, so from the Sentinels, both from Sentinel-2 and Sentinel-3. Now, you may be more familiar with Sentinel-2 as a land sensor, and indeed the instruments that are on board it were optimized for land remote sensing, but they do perceive color in a similar way to the traditional ocean color sensors do. So in the coastal domain at high resolution, you can get some color information from Sentinel-2 data that can be useful for looking at near shore features, things like river plumes, for example, are particularly useful, or different types of pollution as well. Sentinel-3 has the ocean and land color instrument on board, colloquially known as OLCI. This is where I do most of my work. And this is an ocean color sensor. So it is designed for looking at ocean color based upon our historical knowledge of this sensor technology, and including some improvements for things like higher spatial and spectral resolution. So I've just mentioned resolutions. Depending on the application you're looking at, you'll want to consider several different aspects of resolution when it comes to selecting the right ocean color data that you want to work with. We're often interested in the temporal resolution of the data. So how long we have a time series of data for, but also how frequently we get that data. So for Sentinel-2 and Sentinel-3, you have slightly different temporal resolutions. They were launched at different times, but they also have what we call a different revisit. And when you look at the level 1 and level 2 data from the Sentinels, you'll see that for the two different types of Sentinels that we're talking about here, the Sentinel-2 and Sentinel-3 data, that the data is available at the sensor revisit time. So it's daily data, it's a snapshot taken at a particular time, and you'll get data as frequently as the satellite passes over the area you're interested in. So for Sentinel-2, this is about every 5 days, and for Sentinel-3, this is every 1 to 2 days, depending on exactly where you are on the Earth. If you're near the poles, it's more frequent because the satellite goes over the poles more frequently. The spatial resolution of the data is at its highest at level 1 and level 2. So this is closest to the sensor sort of native resolution, we might call it. And for Sentinel-2, this is between sort of 30 and 60 meters in pixel size. And for Sentinel-3, between 300 and 1 kilometer, depending on which data you're using. The spectral resolution is also important. If you want to look at the color in a lot of detail, ideally you want a sensor that has lots and lots of what we call spectral bands. So it looks at different parts of the color spectrum individually. This can help you tease apart, how much blue light, how much green light, how much red light that you're getting from your signal, and help you to disentangle what could be in the water. Sentinel-2 has a certain number of bands, and Sentinel-3 has more, specifically augmented to try and pick up certain ocean features. So you get a higher spectral resolution from the Sentinel-3 data than you do from Sentinel-2. And as well as the color data itself, so this is the reflectance, which is sensor specific at those wave bands, as I say, you also get derived geophysical products, particularly in this case from Sentinel-3. At level 2, you can already access estimates, for example, of chlorophyll concentration, the inherent optical properties, so the absorption and scattering that's associated with a particular patch of water you're looking at, the attenuation of light, so how much it's absorbed through the water column, and also indicators of sediment, such as total suspended matter. So that's the level 1 and level 2 products from Sentinel-2 and 3. That data then feeds down into the Copernicus services. And so from the Copernicus Marine Environmental Monitoring Service, we have level 3 and level 4 ocean color products that are available at different sets of temporal, spatial, and spectral resolutions compared to the data from the Sentinels themselves. Because what typically happens at level 3 and level 4 is that data gets aggregated to a longer maybe time series, or you might use several satellites together over the course of a day. So as well as the Sentinel satellites, we might see data being integrated from satellites from NASA, for example, to give you a merged daily product or a merged monthly product. Of course, this merging means you have to make some compromises. Not all the satellites are on the same temporal, spatial, spectral resolution. So you typically find you get a bit of a coarser resolution as you go down the levels of ocean color data, but it does mean you often get greater coverage, and the data itself is easier to work with because it's merged in ways that you can use repeatedly over different time and spatial scales. But you do also get all the different geophysical products as well at this level, depending on the exact product that you're looking at. And we'll take a look at those in a minute. So I'm now going to share with you my screen just so we can have a look at these products in a bit more detail in terms of how you find them in WEkEO. So let me just try and share my screen. Okay. So you should be seeing my screen now. This is the WEkEO website. And if you go through data, you will end up at the data viewer here. And from here, you can start exploring the different types of ocean color data that are available in Copernicus and through the WEkEO system. So click on the plus button over here to add a layer. The catalog will open, as Fabrice showed you earlier. And we can start looking for ocean color related data. So you may have a bit of an idea of where to start looking based on things I've already said. So you could look at Sentinel-3 here. For that, it will bring up the associated data sets. We hope, if my internet isn't really slow. Okay. Give me 1 minute to refresh this. Okay, so then if we look at the Sentinel-3 data here you have 12 data sets that are associated with the platform. As Anne-Catherine mentioned earlier, Sentinel-3 is really a multi-purpose marine mission. So you have a lot of different data, both from the marine domain and the land domain. So the 12 data sets you see here are not all ocean color. Some of them are related to the altimetry, some are related to land. But if you scroll through, you'll be able to find ones that relate to the ocean and indeed to ocean color. So here, for example, you have the Ultra Ocean Color full resolution Sentinel-3 data. So this is at 300-meter resolution. And we also have a reduced resolution product, which can be easier to work with if you need to look at large areas. A lot of this data can get quite big, and depending on the particular phenomena that you're looking at, the reduced resolution might be sufficient for your needs. So you can look at the details of that here. It tells you all about the different spectral bands that I mentioned, the products that are available, where the data comes from. So in this case, from us at EUMETSAT. And there's various resources that can provide you with more background information if you need details. For example, you can look at the Marine User Handbook that we produce that will tell you in detail about how this data is processed, what's contained within the data files, and how to work with it. You can also add this data, if I go back to it here, to the map. Just close these ones. And it will load up some example data. See here, this is aggregated so you can see different coastal features as we zoom in. And you can download some of this data using the functionality of the service as well. So if I click on the subset download button, it will ask me to sign in. Okay. Apologies for my slow internet connection today. Okay, so now that I'm signed in, I can download the data I want. So I can open up the download and subsetting option here. It should then allow me to make choices to refine my search and download data for specific time periods, and to download chunks of the data that cover specific areas I'm interested in terms of a spatial bounding box, for example. So I can put in boxes here, or I can draw, as Fabrice did earlier, and it will give me all the scenes from the Sentinel-3 ocean color data within a certain time and covering a certain space. I can also select here the timeliness. So if you wanted data, so say I'm looking for data right now that came from, I don't know, a few hours ago, I would want to look at the near real-time data. If I was looking for data from last month, then I would select the non-time critical data. This data is updated with more recent sort of metadata that allows us to improve the accuracy of the product. So usually things like additional meteorological information allow us to apply corrections. You can download this data from here by clicking request data, but you can also show the API request, and you can integrate this then into a more substantial workflow, which we have examples showing you how to do this in a programmatic way. So as well as accessing the data directly through the viewer, you can access data using what we call our API, the harmonized data access. And you can do this then routinely for, say, a time series of data, or a day-to-day if you want to set up an operational application. So that's the Sentinel-3 data. And if you look under layers again, we can also then look at the data that's available from the Marine Service. So you can either go through the CMEMS tag here, but as you'll see, there's a lot of data in there, so perhaps we want to refine it further. We can then look at the tags, and underneath the tags, we have a range of different thematic topics here that are relevant when it comes to ocean color. So a key one you might want to look at would be chlorophyll concentration. And you can see here that there's a range of different products at different regional scales, as well as different temporal and spatial scales. And you can browse through this and find the ones that are most suitable for your purposes. If you're interested in the Arctic, you might want to look at the Arctic region. If you're interested in the North Atlantic, there's a specific product for you there. You also have global data, of course. You'll see there's some reprocessed data here from multiple satellite observations. So this is where we're bringing in more and more data, not just from the Sentinels, but also from the historical ocean color sense that we have. So if you want to look at like a time series analysis, this might be data that's most well suited to you. There's many, many different products here, depending on exactly what's suitable for you. And you'll also find that there's some other value-added products, such as primary production, phytoplankton functional type information, that can also be derived from the ocean color signal. So I would invite you to have a look at these and see what is most suitable for your purposes. So that's one way to access the data for ocean color. We also have various different ways you can access through the Harmonized Data Access API in a more programmatic way. And as Amin showed earlier, these are available in the form of Jupyter notebooks, some guidance for you in conducting these workflows. The Jupyter notebooks can be accessed, as he showed, through your dashboard on WEkEO, and by opening up the Jupyter Hub service, we can do when you're signed in. I'm signed in. You can do that through the dashboard. We have produced a variety of different notebooks that are relevant for Ocean Color, and you can see them in the Jupyter Hub itself under the public folder. But you can also have a look at our WEkEO GitHub, which is where the code is pulled from to our Jupyter Hub or Jupyter Lab environment. We have a variety of different examples here that are related to Ocean Color. So you can have a look at the initial page here. You have a README, which explains to you how to use these tools both in a local environment, so you can put them on your own computer, you can use them in our Jupyter Lab, you could use them on the WEkEO virtual machines, and it tells you what data is where and what is used in which folders and which examples. So we have some marine examples which use Sentinel-3 Level 2 Ocean Color. There's some Ocean Color products in the Copernicus Marine Service examples, and you can also look at the WEkEO Harmonized Data Access API, which is actually in this case an example based on using AltG data. But of course, you could use it for any type of data available across Copernicus. So within the Ocean folder here, you will find a variety of different books, but I would point you to that are of particular interest. So under the Sentinel-3 folder here, you will find this, not this one, sorry, this script, which is on AltG. And this is very introductory. It will explain to you how to open the data. So it's in NetCDF format. It will show you what sort of shape the data is, what different variables are available, how to plot this data, and how to apply things like quality flags. So this is a really good place to start if you've never used Ocean Color data or AltG data from Sentinel-3 before. If you then go back to the main folders and look under Ocean Case Studies, whether you're on the GitHub here or whether you're in the interactive mode in the Jupyter Lab, you can also look at another case study here, which is on cyanobacteria detection. So one of the things that we can use Ocean Color for is looking at harmful algal blooms. So this is phytoplankton that grows in large concentrations and can have quite significant impacts on fisheries, aquaculture, and human health. So in this particular example, you'll see how you can use Sentinel-3 data to detect blooms of cyanobacteria in the Baltic Sea. If you look here, this explains more about what you do with it, but it shows you how to make true color imagery using Sentinel-3 AltG data. Now, I'd love to be able to show you all of these in detail today, but unfortunately we don't have so much time. But what we do have for you is on the YouTube channel, we have gone through all of these notebooks. If you go to the YouTube channel and look at the tutorials here, you'll see there's a whole suite little videos that will show you basically how to use the Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebook environment, how to interact with the GitHub, but also how to run these particular notebooks for interrogating and understanding AltG data and the cyanobacteria case study as well. So I want you to have a look through these and you can use the Jupyter Lab to run the notebooks and explore yourselves. Okay, so I think I'll have can I have my presentation back, Anna Maria? Got a little bit more to share. There we go. Lovely. Okay, so yeah, as I mentioned, you can access Ocean Color both through the data viewer and through the Harmonized Data Access API. And those examples I showed you in Jupyter Notebooks are all based upon a access point using the Harmonized Data Access. So you'll see a full end-to-end workflow of how to get the data, bring it into your interactive environment in Jupyter, and then do some analysis with it. So what tools can you use to work with Ocean Color data? I've already mentioned the use of the Jupyter tutorials to access the data and to work with it. But you can also use a variety of more graphical user interface based software. So you may have heard of the Sentinel application platform Snap. This you can use on your own computer to interrogate this data, or on a WEkEO virtual machine, for example. And we have some example tutorials at the link here where we show you how to work with the data in that software. This software is very powerful. It can also be used in a programmatic way to conduct larger operational processing that you might want to do, particularly for Sentinel-3. So I invite you to have a look at that software. With the Copernicus Marine Environmental Monitoring Service products, you can also use these in Snap, but they will also work in most any type of software that you might be used to using that will work with NetCDF data. And as part of the service that we offer through WEkEO, we can help you to find the right open source softwares that you can use to read this data in your virtual machine environment. And as I said before, all these different types of data in NetCDF can be worked with in a programming language context with anything that has NetCDF capabilities. In particular, we've used a lot of Python to do this. Okay, these are the links, so you'll get this presentation after today's webinar, and this just summarizes what I was showing you earlier with the GitHub and the Jupyter Lab code for how to access ocean color data using our HDA and to work with it in a couple of different case study applications. And you can follow the videos on the YouTube channel if you want more details.
Thank you very much, Haley, for the tutorial, for the demonstration. It was very interesting.
I think my screen is frozen a minute.
Oh. Haley?
Hi, Anke, can I have my presentation back? I had one more slide. This is fine. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, the internet is being very slow today. So I just wanted to finish off by summarizing the sorts of different applications that this data can open up for you. So this set of this Venn diagram here shows very nicely some of the applications that ocean color data can be used towards. So these are the ones highlighted in green. But you can also use this data in combination with other types of marine data that's available through Copernicus and through WEkEO, and particularly on Sentinel-3, including sea surface temperature and altimetry. Look at everything from weather and climate dynamics through to different maritime industries, things that are relevant for fishing, for aquaculture, for tourism and human health, and to various different scientific applications, such as looking at biological transport or climatic indices such as El Nino. Really, there's a huge array of opportunity to use this data to provide useful information about our environment and how it affects us as people who depend on it.
Haley, we don't hear you anymore.
If you want to know more about ocean color data, or you want to get support on using it in the WEkEO environment, you can watch our previous trainings on ocean data on the YouTube channel. We did a whole ocean training some time ago, and that's all there recorded for you. Oh, lost my slides. A minute. Yep, you can explore the data using the data viewer, try out the notebooks. There are various different courses that are offered both by us at WEkEO and also through the different partner organizations who run the satellites and produce some of this data. So we'd welcome you to join us on those. And of course, if you have any further questions, you can ask today, and you can ask questions always to our help desk. The support at wekeo.eu is the contact point. So that's everything from me today. Thank you very much for your attention, and sorry for some of the slow internet issues there. I hope you were able to follow me okay.
Thank you very much, Haley. Just briefly before we go to, don't run away, before we go to the Q&A, I will just quickly show you what's up next. Today we've had the 4th of 12 webinars, which will be running until the end of June of this year. And the section that we're in right now is we're doing thematic webinars for beginners. So this was the first thematic webinar on ocean color. And we will be having some more beginner webinars on crop mapping, multitemporal vision, and air pollution. If that interests you, you will be getting an invitation for the next webinar on crop mapping using Copernicus Sentinel data in your inbox soon enough. We also have some training sessions which are a little bit longer, and most of those have been given already. But there is one more debrief of a training session which will come up next week. If the land monitoring is in your interest, don't hesitate to reach out or register for that. And then now I will go to the Q&A. So we've already had a few questions coming up in the chat. So the first one, can we monitor coral larvae dispersal with ocean excuse me, ocean color data? Yeah, Haley?
Yep, I can have a go at answering this. So yes, to a point you can. It's sort of indirect the way that you would do this, but there have been studies that have been done to this effect, using not just ocean color data, but in combination with other satellite data as well. I can think of some particular examples recently that were done in the Red Sea that are very relevant to this. So the ways that you could use ocean color data in this sense would be as a tracer. So if you know that the ocean color is indicating, say, plankton or sediments, you can use that signal as a tracer to show where water is moving from and to look at connectivity between different areas. You can also use information that's derived from currents to do the same sort of thing. But usually it's quite good to look at multiple perspectives of this, because you have, you know, your plankton are part of your coral larvae, would be part of your plankton assemblage. So you might assume that they would follow similar dynamics to what your phytoplankton dynamics in general that you can pick up from your ocean color would be. So you can look at time series analyses of ocean color to get an idea of connectivity in the plankton assemblage between different areas.
Okay, thank you. The next question. The reflectance product with merged bands is the water leaving reflectance or surface reflectance?
Typically in ocean color terms, we're expressing things as water leaving reflectance, which is, I guess, nominally the surface reflectance of the water, but you have to look at this precise formulation for the different algorithms to check that this is consistent with the nomenclature you're used to. But typically we're expressing things from an ocean color perspective as water leaving reflectance, yes.
Okay. Will this webinar also be available on YouTube so we can share it with our networks? Yes, indeed, it's been recorded, and you will be able to access it afterwards as well. And I believe I also, what spatial resolution can we find at Wikio? Which products could you recommend in order to monitor glacier ice adrift in fjords and sea ice formation inside Patagonian channels used for navigation routes? So the spatial resolution really depends on which product that you or which product that you choose. Are you looking at Sentinel data? Are you looking at one of the Copernicus services? I would say for any glacier in fjords and sea ice formation, Sentinel-1 is often used. Haley, do you agree? Oh.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can add to this a bit. So Sentinel-1, you're right, but ICE is quite commonly used. Has the benefit of being able to see through cloud because it's a radar technology. It's one though. Oh, in a minute. And turn my camera off. Does that help a bit? Hopefully you can hear me now.
Could you repeat what you said, please? It went a little bit fast.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. So you can use Sentinel-1 for ICE. It's quite good for this because as an active radar-based technology, you can see through cloud, and a lot of these areas that are icy tend to be very cloudy as well. But that doesn't mean you can't use other technologies too. The high resolution for Sentinel-2 and Sentinel-3 can be beneficial from an optical perspective if you need to look in detail at sea ice. There are also specific ice products that are available. So you might find you want to get the most out of the data, you would look at different spatial resolutions in different products to sort of look at different perspectives at this challenge. So I would say, yeah, try out Sentinel-1, have a look at Sentinel-2, Sentinel-3, and then also look at the specific sea ice products that are generated.
Okay, thank you. Is it possible to read or infer oxygen levels and phytoplankton population health via ocean color?
This is a very interesting topic. It was part of what I was looking at when I did my PhD using ocean color, was looking at the effects of phytoplankton blooms on deoxygenation in coastal environments. So yes, you can link what you're seeing from the ocean color data with oxygen levels. It's a bit indirect. You have to look over kind of multiple time frames to say, how big is the biomass? How long has it been there for? How is it moving? How is it being transported? And then you can link this with higher potential for low oxygen events. This is quite common in areas that suffer from these big harmful algal blooms. So it's not a direct thing, you know, we're not sensing the oxygen in the water, but we can look at the effect of having large amounts of biomass in an area for a long time. And that then degrading on the oxygen levels. So there's been quite a few studies on this. You might want to have a look at some of the upwelling regions where this has been particularly applied, or actually in a lot of inland water cases as well when it comes to eutrophication. Similar studies have been done. With regards to population health, you can derive information on the fluorescence from ocean color. And there's been quite a bit of work seeing how far we can link the fluorescent signal that we get from phytoplankton with their health indicators. It's not something that we do really as standard, but it's certainly something that you could look into.
Okay, thank you. I believe we don't have any other questions anymore. If there's anything else that you think of after this webinar, or you start playing with the data and you have another question that comes up, please don't hesitate to reach out to our user support at support@wekeo.eu. As mentioned, all of the information will also be on YouTube, and we really hope to see you all in a next webinar or training session. Have a nice afternoon.